Good morning friends, it's Michelle from Little Farm in the Valley. Welcome back to my channel. On today's video we're going to be talking about some garden progress, and we're going to be checking in on what my seedlings are doing, how they're growing, my seedlings that I started about 2 months ago now. And then I'm going to have to come up with a plan of what to do with my overflow of goat's milk. We're kind of at peak production right now, I think, so I've always got milk piling up in the fridge that I need to come up with creative ways to use up the milk. So that's what's going on today. Today is the first day that I brought these plants outside to start the hardening off process, just get them used to the air. It's a little bit breezy and I feel like these plants are a little bit too exposed. So I think when Stetson gets up from his nap, we're going to go to the goat pen. There's a little wagon in there that we're using for their hay wagon, but we don't really need it anymore. So I'm going to bring it up here and put these plants in the wagon, and that'll give them a little bit more protection from the wind and also from just stuff around the farm that could come up and bug these plants and eat them and whatnot all. All right, we finally got out here to the goat pen, and what I want to do is I want to empty this little wagon to put my plants in. So we're basically going to move the hay over there to the new bale feeder, and then we're going to take this wagon out. Stetson ran into the barn with the other two goats. Ingrid's coming to say hi. Wyatt likes to keep moving. I tried stuffing it into the bale feeder, but it didn't work too well. I'm just gonna make a pile, I guess. Hey, what are you doing, Stetson?
I'm taking the goat with the hay.
You're scaring them, don't.
What?
Don't scare them. Don't scare them. Ingrid isn't quite sure what to make of you, Stetson. Stetson is hard at work emptying the wagon so that we can put our plants on there.
What's that noise?
I don't know, it sounds like a bird.
What?
I don't know what bird that would be.
Dad.
I'm not an expert in the bird calls. You all done?
Yeah.
All right, scrape out the little bit of hay that's left, then we can take the wagon out. Okay, close the gate.
Huh?
Ingrid already escaped, but let's try and keep the other two in. Close the gate, Stetson, hurry.
What?
Close the gate.
Huh?
Close the gate.
Okay.
right, this is where we're going to put our plants to protect them from the likes of these troublemakers. There's only one of them out right now. But, well, that's why we're going to put them in the wagon.
What?
So we can hide them from the goats.
What?
They're still not very protected from something like the goats, but I don't think the chickens will be able to get at them now. And that way I can roll them around and they're just a little bit easier to transport now. I'm going to try and get out to the garden later to plant my onion sets. We have a whole bunch of yellow, and then I have 1 bag of red and 2 bags of white. So hopefully I'll make it out to the garden to get these planted later this afternoon. That's the plan. Well, I marked off 3 rows. There's 1 row, there's a row there, and then all the way on the edge there's another row. I think it's going to take about 3 long rows to plant all my onion sets. So I better get to So I'm planting yellow onions right now. I've already got 1 row. I just haven't buried them. So the top of the onion is what you want sticking up. So you plant them with the bottom side down. I'm doing about 3 to 4 inches spacing. I'd say my spacing looks closer to 3, but I'll be thinning these onions as they grow, so I think 3 inches will be fine. This is Einstein, our weird little Polish rooster, but he's fun. Pretty unique little character. There's Horace and his gang all the way up top. There's Jasper with a couple of his crew. And then for some reason these guys like to hang out down here. These are usually part of Jasper's group during the day, but for some reason they don't like to go up at night to roost. Right, I'm back out here in the garden. So yesterday I started planting onions. I planted 3 rows of these yellow onions, and then I ran out of space. So Stephen tilled another whole tiller width of a row And I think I'm gonna need 3 more rows because I've got 2 bags of white and then a bag of red. And once I'm finished planting that, I'm gonna go all the way up to the edge of the garden, and then I'm gonna plant some zinnia. And this seems fun. I don't know what's gonna come up, but these are bird and butterfly mixture wildflowers, and then I'm gonna plant ruby eclipse sunflowers. So that's fun. I'll show you where I'm gonna plant those. These are my 3 rows of yellow onions. So I'm gonna go over here and do 3 more rows for these. The rest of my yellow and then my red and my 2 bags of white. I'm sure I'll need 3 more rows. So then up here there's a strip right along the fence where I'm gonna plant these flowers, and I'm hoping it makes a nice border and some windbreak. It's terribly windy again today, and this garden really needs some shelter and windbreak, so I'm gonna get busy planting that. The kids are napping, so I don't have much time. I finished planting my onions. It took 3 more whole rows to plant that 1 bag of yellow and the 2 bags of white and the red. So I have 6 rows of onions and then another row that we started like from seed. So we're gonna be rolling in onions if all those come up. Then I planted the sunflowers. There were only a handful of seeds in that, so I didn't get very far with sunflowers. I planted a whole long row of zinnias. And then I planted that little bag of wildflowers, and there weren't very many in there too, but a lot more than the sunflower were. So I got my planting done for today. I think these ladies are waiting to be let out to graze on the grass, but since we've got roofing going on at the main house, I don't think I'm gonna let them out because I know they're gonna be crawling around in their trailers and on their equipment and stuff. So I think you ladies have to stay in this afternoon. One of them was already out. She was already out, but oh well. I'm piling my goat's milk out of the freezer. Not the freezer, the refrigerator. So we have about a gallon from the last few days. So now I need to come up with a plan of what I'm gonna do with this milk. This is actually something that I've been wanting to try for a while. This is my last yogurt that I made. Oh my goodness, it's been maybe 6 months ago, and it does so well just with putting these lids on and putting it in the fridge. It's been a long time since I made this yogurt, and it's still perfectly fine. But I am getting to my last few jars, so I do hear about people making yogurt from goat's milk, and it's supposed to be great. So today we're gonna try it, and I'm gonna show you how simple it is to actually make yogurt. You don't need to make much of a fuss. It can be super simple, not much of a mess to clean, and it produces some really delicious yogurt. Well, I'm gonna start by putting some water in a pot. That used to be my least favorite part of making yogurt, is thinking about that pot to scrub out where you put the milk in. But then I found a method where you don't put milk in the pot at all, and that's what I'm gonna be showing you today. I've got my pot of water. I'm just gonna turn the heat on. I've got it on my largest burner, so I'm gonna put the heat on 5 maybe. And like I said, I'm gonna leave these jars just the way they are, except that there's one that's overly full, where I'm gonna pour into this one that's not so full. Now I'm gonna get a rag to put in my pot. So this is the idea behind the rag. It acts sort of like the wire thingy on the bottom of your canning jars. So once this starts heating and the jars start to shake a little bit, this rag will help to kind of stop them from shaking, and that way I'm not going to break my jars. So my 4 jars are in here, And I measured the water pretty accurately, actually. You want the water to come up to about the shoulder of these jars. This is a little bit higher, but these jars aren't all the same height, so I think it'll work. You just don't want the water to boil over into your milk, and I don't think this will, because you don't really need an active boil to heat this milk. So I'm going to heat it up to 180 degrees. That's the first step to turning this milk into yogurt. So I'm going to get my thermometer and watch this milk. It's been about a half hour and we're going to do a temperature check. You can see it's almost boiling point, the water in the pot. And the milk is at 155, 56. So a little bit more to go to reach 180. So I'm going to turn my water off and I'm just going to leave it because I'm not quite done with this pot of water. Okay, we're going to check temperature again. We should be about 180 by now. Oh yeah, we're 180. Okay, our next step is just to get these jars out of here. I usually have a little jar grabber thingy around, but I don't today. I've just got a dish rag down that I'm gonna set them on. So the next step is to let them cool down to 110 degrees. That'll take maybe an hour. And then once they're 110 degrees, we're gonna add our starter, our yogurt starter. I keep noticing on these videos my thumb has dirt underneath it. Well, I've been planting in the garden, so I have an excuse. Okay, so we need to wait for them to be 110 now. Okay, let's do a temperature check. We were wanting to get down to 110. Well, that's 108. Let's do another one. 111, 110. Yeah, I'd say they're all pretty much within the range of where I want them. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the next step. I've got the yogurt that I showed you this morning that I made 6 months ago from cow's milk. And this is what I'm gonna use as my starter. So I'm just gonna eyeball a pretty good tablespoon. I might do a little bit more. I might do 1.5 or 2 spoonfuls. So I'm gonna do this for all of them, and then I'm gonna put them in their little ice box to turn into yogurt overnight. Sometimes I add gelatin, but I find that my yogurt is thick enough for my liking, so I'm not gonna mess around with gelatin today since this is my first try with goat's milk. I'm just gonna do the yogurt and see what happens. I'm piling it into this little ice box that I brought up from downstairs. And this is where we're going to be using our water that we saved in the pot. That's a no.
I think
He wants to turn off the camera. So I'm just pouring the warm water over the jars. So I've got that warm water coming up about, well, a little bit higher than shoulder height, but I just don't really want it over the top of the jars. I know it couldn't get in, but this is just how I usually do it. So most yogurt recipes will tell you within 24 hours it should turn into yogurt, but I find that my sweet spot is a little bit closer to 18 hours, which would be about the time I get up tomorrow morning. So that's when we're gonna come back and check this yogurt. Okay, this is the moment of truth. This is the next morning. It's set. It doesn't look like the thickest yogurt, but as long as it's set, that doesn't matter. So I'll give this a taste. Okay, here's my taste test. It's definitely thinner than the yogurt that I usually make. Got a little bit of a different taste, but I think it'll be better when it's chilled. It's got a yogurt taste, and then it's also got something else. I suppose a little goat milk taste. But it's not bad. It's not bad at all. I think once it's chilled and served with honey or something, I think it's gonna be really good. So I'm gonna try it again when it's cold, and I think it'll be just fine. It's thinner, like I said, it's thinner than the yogurt I normally make. So maybe if I were to make it again, I would use gelatin to thicken it up a little bit. But overall, pretty good. Not a bad experiment. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos. We'll talk to you soon.